episode 9, 10, somewhere in there
Sure.
of Buckshots with Trevor and Luke. We're here. It feels like we haven't been together in a while talking about Milwaukee Bucks basketball. I know we were off last week. We both had stuff going on that we needed to be at rather than be here. And what we were in and out, whatever. But whatever, we're back talking some Bucks basketball. We'll go over the last week's games. Bucks had 4 games. We'll preview this coming week's games as well as go over the normal news, notes, do whatever. I'm sure we'll end up talking about some other teams like we usually do, but that's all the fun of talking about basketball. So Trevor, just to kick right into it, I guess the last week we would have previewed this week's games. We didn't, but we can quickly go over and gloss over them. I know me and you both watched some games this week, so we'll have some different input here and there, some different perspectives like usual. But the first game of the week was Sunday, December 12th. The Bucks traveled to New York, where they took on the Knicks, won 112-97. In that game, Giannis 20 points, 10 rebounds, 11 assists for a triple-double. Chris Middleton 24 points. Bobby Portis 19 points, 10 rebounds, and you get a good handful of double-digit scoring from the rest of the for most of the guys that played in this game. So Trevor, just right off the rip here, did you watch this game? Do you have any thoughts on it? I know it's always fun beating the Knicks or an Eastern Conference opponent who are kind of, maybe on the come up, maybe not here. But always going to Madison Square Garden and getting a win is it's a good start to the week for the Bucks.
Yeah, and this is a weird game. Quentin Grimes went off randomly, 7 for 13 from deep for 27. Kevin Knox finally looked like a serviceable NBA player again. He had 18. And nobody really did anything except for Derrick Rose with 18. So it's kind of weird on the Knicks side of the ball. And for the Bucks, this was really, I want to say, like their last game having a somewhat, Bucks-esque team before COVID and injury and all that crap. So it was a good win, good shooting. You have 7 guys in double figures. That's always a good thing.
Right. And, a lot of those points came from in the paint. The Bucks outscored the Knicks in the paint 46-30, which is pretty, I would say surprising, seeing that Brook Lopez continues to be out. But that, and plus the second chance points. The Bucks had 22 second chance points compared to the Knicks 4. And 12 offensive rebounds compared to their 8. I've always been under the impression that one of the most important things in basketball is offensive rebounds. Being able to get a second chance on a possession without having to play defense is such a huge part in keeping the flow going and not burning out too quick. And then that's what the Bucks did here against the Knicks. Kind of an underwhelming game for the Knicks.
Yeah, and we'll obviously talk about it later about the importance of this game growing as the week has gone on, but games like that are huge, because you don't know what's going to happen. And certainly nobody knew it was going to happen within the next 24 hours after this game. Right.
And then I guess, before we hop into the next game and talk about, what happened in these next 24 hours, is there anything else you want to talk about from that game? Like you said, it was kind of a weird game. There's not a lot of talking points from it. Rather just, just kind of the Bucks' dominance on the inside in the paint there.
Yeah, Rodney Hood finally looked serviceable, dare I say, right? Like defensively, he's always been kind of, I don't want to say a liability, but he's someone you're kind of just like, all right, I guess he's out there. But offensively, 5 for 5, 2 for 2 from deep, 2 for 2 from the line, 14 points. We don't need anything special for him. We just need him to look like not a shell of his former self.
Right.
It's nice to see him getting something going in 23 minutes.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree with you. And, I had talked about earlier in the year, like with Rodney Hood, who really knows what Rodney Hood is, right? Like you certainly kind of have an idea, but he's bounced around on so many teams. There must be something wrong with him, and there's a reason why teams don't want to keep him. And Trevor, maybe that defense is something that teams are looking for out of him that he's just not producing. And against the Bucks or with the Bucks here, he finally came to be what everyone thought that he may be, 6-7 years ago. But to hop into the next game, Milwaukee traveled north that night after the Knicks at night morning. I don't know when they travel, but they traveled north to Boston, where the Bucks once again took home a Eastern Conference road trip, or Eastern Conference road. I'm sorry, they lost on the Eastern Conference road trip, losing 117 to 103. Obviously, back to back is always tough. The second game is always tough when you have to travel that quick. I mean, and this was, this rang true. The Bucks didn't have one player over 20 points, which maybe you're like, oh, that's not terrible. Well, it is terrible if you're a bad team. If you're not a bad team, like the Bucks, they have guys who can go out there and score 30 every night. Giannis had 20 points again, 7-14 shooting. Next highest scorer was Jrue Holiday with 20 points, and then your next highest scorer was Bobby Portis with 13. I guess Pat Connaughton with 15 points. So this was not a Chris Middleton game. 23 minutes and 4 points. We did hear a little bit of news about Chris Middleton for this game, but with the time that he was in this game, he shot 2 for 8, 23 minutes, scored only 4 points, grabbed 8 rebounds. But this wasn't Middleton's greatest game. And Trevor, you can hop right into the news about him after you talk about him here for a second. But did you agree with me? With this time on the court, it just didn't feel like Chris Middleton was in the groove of this game. It didn't look like he was very comfortable playing, or I don't know. Something was wrong, and maybe he was injured before. I don't know. Just give me your thoughts on Chris Middleton in this game.
Yeah, I think it was just an off game. His stats are weird too. 8 shots, only one of them from behind the arc. That's certainly not what you expect from him. You don't, expect 20 threes or 20 shots and all of them to be threes, but you expect more than 1 out of 8 from behind the arc. I don't know what was going on. I think it could have been, just being tired. I don't know, but it was a game. It was decided by 14 points, yes, but you touched on Middleton being injured. Defensively, that hurts a lot more, and I think people give credit for. And then this is just one of those Jason Tatum games.
Mm-hmm.
The Celtics are not that good of a team. They really aren't. Jason Tatum just went nuclear, and he dropped 42. He really couldn't miss. The Bucks are a good defensive team. We know that wasn't the problem. So, when games like this happen, not only did Tatum go nuclear, but, Middleton out and hurt and the whole team not shooting very well, only shooting 30% from deep. You don't want to write every game off, but this is certainly one of those games where you're like, if you're going to lose by 14, whatever, because Tatum is not going to be able to do that against you in a 7-game series.
Right, for sure. And then Chris Middleton, correct me if I'm wrong, Trevor, I only caught about a little of this game. This is a game where he hyperextended his knee, right?
Yeah.
So, hyperextended knees are nothing to play with, because in, a lot of cases, a hyperextended knee turns into a torn ACL. Luckily, that didn't happen here. When that knee just kind of bends down more, it snaps that ligament that the ACL is right behind your kneecap there. It's easy to snap. Luckily, that wasn't the case here. I think the initial reports were it's not deemed too serious, and maybe Chris Middleton rests a couple, maybe 4, 5, 6 games, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever, just to get back into the scope of things. But as us being Bucks fans, I think it's very very nice that we don't have to play the rest of the year without Chris Middleton and with the torn ACL or anything like that. So that's a little relieving. Obviously, it sucks that he's hurt, but it's relieving that it's only a slight hyperextended knee.
Yeah, and we'll get more into it later, but with the state of the NBA, just be smart with them, right? Like this
Right.
season, the regular season is going to be such a cluster. Just get there somewhat healthy. If the Bucks can only be down Brook come playoff time, they might be the best off team out of the entire playoff race in both conferences at this rate.
For sure. And, just like you said, the thing that the Bucks need is just to be healthy, because it's proved last year that, the Bucks are the best team in the NBA. Giannis is definitely a top 5, top 3, top 2, top 1, whatever you want to say player in the league. Like, he has his name cemented. So if you can keep that those pieces healthy around him, I mean, I don't see why this Bucks team can't win another championship. And that starts with Chris Middleton. Like we talk about on Lombardi Sweep, who would be the player, to go down with an injury who would destroy the season? Obviously, Aaron Rodgers would be the big one, but Kenny Clark definitely does that. And I think that kind of fits the role of Chris Middleton here. If you can't get consistent 3-point shooting with Giannis, playing in the paint and doing all he can, then that's a real harm to this season.
And his mid-range game.
Right.
Not a lot of people give him credit for that. He's one of the best mid-range shooters in the league. He's like DeMar DeRozan, but with a three-point shot and better defense. So to lose that would be pretty big.
Right. One more note that I had from this game: Giannis became the all-time Bucks blocks leader, which is it's funny to think that because we think of how young Giannis is, but this is what his ninth year in the league, eighth year in the league, something like that. So
Something like that, yeah.
he's been on the Bucks for most the last parts of our childhood lives and the beginning of our adult lives, which is crazy to think, but that's just how good Giannis is, and that just goes to show that if not, Giannis is already probably the best Buck of all time.
Yeah, and he won a championship and he stayed. So I think he's already passed Kareem, MVP as well. Even if he just lives out the rest of the contract, does nothing but win one playoff series every year, will it be disappointing? Yeah. Will he be anything but the best Buck of all time? No.
Right. Cool. Well, Trevor, anything else you want to talk about that Celtics game? I think we kind of hit it a little bit there. Jason Tatum going nuclear, Middleton injury, Giannis blocks. Not much more needs to be said.
No.
But Bucks finally got back at home on Wednesday, where they took on Indiana, and like we had talked, we talk about all the time with Indiana. They're a scrappy team. Indiana's a basketball state. They're going to be good no matter what their team is. They're going to play you hard. But the Bucks did come away with a 15-point win, 114-99. I believe Giannis was out of this game. Yes. So that left the starting lineup of, I should say, Chris Middleton and Giannis were both out. So that left the starting lineup of Bobby Portis, Pat Connaughton, Grayson Allen, Jrue Holiday, and we saw Jordan Nora start this game. Jrue Holiday, 26 points, 14 assists. Pat Connaughton, 20 points. Bobby Portis, 20 points, 9 rebounds. And Jordan Nora, 15 points on 1 of 5 shooting from the three-point line. So, Trevor, to see Jordan Nora get these starter minutes, obviously, to get that shooting back with Chris Middleton out, were you impressed by his performance, disappointed, or kind of in the middle?
Kind of in the middle. The Pacers, obviously, they're pretty much their whole team was there, but you got to wonder how the rest of their season is going to play out with the news of basically everybody being on the trade block. Sabonis, whether they have been confirmed or not, or whether they're true or not, him wanting to be traded, that's going to change a whole bunch of things. So that mental aspect definitely played a role. And the Pacers are a scrappy team, but 7 for 15 doesn't really get to me, especially not in one game, especially from what we saw the next game after. A little spoiler, but it's a good start though. It's a good start.
For sure, for sure. And then, I was going to bring up this question, but you kind of transitioned into it there. You said with the whole team on the trade, kind of all the trade talks. In a hypothetical world, the Bucks make a push for one player on this Pacers team. Who would you want to grab?
It's probably Miles Turner, and I don't think it's close.
I think I
He's a
agree.
better 3-point shooter than Sabonis. He's taller. He's a better rim protector. He can replace Brook, and to be honest, I think you can get him for cheaper. Um, you know, is it cheap enough for the Bucks to swing? Probably not, depending on how desperate they get. But Sabonis, I don't think he fits as well. He's not as good of a shooter, and you'd have to give more. So I think all signs point towards Turner if you have to, or if you could.
For sure. And, it's so hard to trade in division in every sport because teams are rivals, don't want to give players to whatever. But I agree with you. I think, Sabonis is a great offensive talent. We don't really need offense on this Bucks team when everyone's healthy. We need defense. especially if Brook Lopez is out, and that's what Miles Turner provides. He seems just like an upgraded version of Brook Lopez to me.
Yeah, and his offense isn't always there, but we don't really need Brooks' offense all the time. You've seen the team be successful even when he's not in the game. Granted, you'd love to have his 3-point shooting, but on top of Brook too, like this has to be a long-term thing you're looking at too. Like Brook's getting older, injuries, you don't know if you can rely on him. You're obviously in the prime, and you don't have the money for a free agent. So, this is a good long term solution too. Whereas Sabonis, I don't know if he can get you that long term because he might leave for money.
For sure. Other than that, for this game, Pat Connaughton shot 7 of 9 from the field, which is absolutely incredible to see out of someone who has kind of changed his role into that 3-point shooter. I mean, he drives to the lane, he gets fouls on him, but he shot 4 for 5 from 3, so more than half of his shots were from 3, and he's still shooting 77%, which is absolutely awesome to see by a guy who was kind of on that fringe starter 6-man kind of role, and just to see him when he gets in there, just to step up and play his role, as well as he has been, I think, incredible for this team. If we had Pat Connaughton from 2 or 3 years ago, I don't know, with these injuries that we've had, I don't know that the Bucks are 500. I do think that Pat Connaughton's contributed a lot to the Bucks playing as well as they have, and he has developed, mightily in my eyes. I know he's not going to be in contention for most improved player or anything, but if we're talking Bucks, I think he's the front runner for most improved player on the Bucks this year.
Yeah, and you're seeing his importance too. They win by 15. They went on an insane 21-0 run near the end of the game. But you're looking, the Bucks won by 15 with Grayson Allen shooting 2 of 13, 1 for 6 from deep. And the reason for that is they have Connaughton kind of filling that role. You're able to shoot the way they did, even with Grayson Allen playing the way he did. It shows you just how dangerous this team is when fully healthy, because without the big two of Giannis and Middleton, this team still got it done, dare I say, somewhat fairly easily.
Right. And this was a game. I'm going to use this to transition into our next game, but this was the first game, felt like this year, kind of, that Jrue Holiday. He was the lead dog. He had to be. He's like the only other. Take out DeMarcus Cousins. He's the only other guy on this team that's made an All-Star game in his career. And he stepped up in this game. 26 points, 12, 18 shooting, 1 of 2 on threes. Like I said before, 14 assists. Trevor, are you comfortable with Jrue Holiday being the best player right now?
Right now, I guess, there aren't many other options for sure.
Right,
Um, you just hope to see a little improvement in the 3-point shooting for sure.
right. And Jrue Holiday's 3-point shooting was obviously a point of talking during the playoffs last year. It ended up, working out. So depending how long Chris Middleton and Giannis are sidelined, that's definitely something to watch. Is how many threes is Jrue Holiday taking? Are they contested? Are they open here or there? Because I think that is he's got a great game outside. A little inconsistent 3-point shooting. But to transition to the next game, Jrue Holiday Jrue Holiday had a career game. The Bucks traveled to New Orleans on Friday, where they took on the 10 or the not at the time 9-21 Pelicans, lost by 4, 116 to 112 in overtime. I say Jrue Holiday had a career game because he had 40 points on 18 of 36 shooting. And while 36 shots sound like a lot, he shot 50% from the field, which is awesome, but 1 of 8 from 3. So that inconsistent 3-point shooting came back into play here. Grayson Allen added another 25 points, and he shot 7 of 12 from 3. So he kind of picked up that slack a little bit. I mean, you like to see, at least 2 or 3 more of Jrue Holiday's go in. But with Grayson Allen, shooting as well as he did, it was great to see. The Bucks started DeMarcus Cousins, Jordan Nora, and Pat Connaughton. So 2 out of the 5 starters in this game are normal starters, and the other 3 were kind of the first couple guys off the bench. But to bounce off of that, the Bucks only played 9 guys in this game. Bobby Portis is out on health and safety protocols. Dante DiVincenzo out on health and safety protocols. Brook Lopez out with the back. Semi Ojeleye out with a right calf injury. Chris Middleton out with the left knee hyperextension. Giannis health and safety protocols. Thanasis, I don't know, he's hurt too. And Wes Matthews, health and safety protocols. So this is not anything different than any other team is going through in the NBA right now. People are bringing guys up from the G League. They're signing guys off the street. I mean, Isaiah Thomas got signed, 2 days ago? And he's playing for the Lakers last night. So this is definitely an odd game. Pelicans aren't a great team. And the Bucks went to New Orleans and dropped the game by 4 in overtime. Trevor, is this kind of a fluke, or is this something that Bucks fans should be looking forward to as long as Giannis and Bobby Portis and key contributors are staying in health and safety protocols?
I think it's a fluke, but it also hurts like a son of a bitch. Like, this is a
Yeah.
game they should have won. Connaughton, Holiday were 2 for 17 from deep, which is ridiculous. Nora had a very stupid flagrant foul. Should have been a flagrant. I don't know. I don't think so. But again, just a low basketball IQ play. Got a rebound with 7 seconds left in the fourth. Didn't get a shot off. Had a tie game, got to stop, couldn't do anything with it. And, the thing that might be most frustrating for Bucks fans is Devontae Graham. I'm sorry, I don't think he's a very good player, and he shot 8 for 12 from 3.
Mm-hmm.
It's just one of those games. It's like, come on, like,
Mm-hmm.
just give us the win. Let's cut the crap, because New Orleans is not good, and they aren't good. They're missing some guys too, but this was a game that it just, it just hurts.
It does, especially, like you said, against not a great New Orleans team, right? New Orleans' best player, probably Brandon Ingram. You got to imagine that to Giannis or Chris Middleton is guarding. Valanciunas had 24 points. He was really patrolling the paint by himself because DeMarcus Cousins, you can only throw him out there for so long. You have Giannis or someone else in. Valanciunas probably scores single digits. So I agree with you, Trevor. This is probably a fluke game that a bad team, played well. But if everyone's healthy, no such thing as COVID or whatever, Bucks maybe win this game by 40.
Yeah, they win it by a lot, and it just, obviously it's a nice place to be for a Bucks fan where you're just like, none of this matters, right? It
Mm-hmm.
matters for seeding, obviously, but none of this really matters. But it also hurts because it feels like there have been, the Bucks have lost 12 games. It feels like at least 6 of them you look at and go, what the hell?
Right.
Like, everything had to go right for them and wrong for us. And it's not a luck thing. It just, happens. COVID happens when it happens. Injuries happen when it happens. And, you can't really do anything about it. You look tonight, Toronto's doubling up Golden State and Brooklyn's losing to
Right.
Orlando, right? If you have
Right.
any question of how the NBA season's going, that's it right there for you.
Right. Um, that's all that I had to talk about last week's games. Is there anything else you want to mention about last week at all?
No.
I know on our note sheet, I know you kind of took the liberty of putting down a bunch of notes to talk about for this show. You have on here the Bucks play the Magic 4 times before playing the Bulls once. Maybe a problem with NBA scheduling. Give me your thoughts on that, and let's dive into that a little bit.
I just think it's so stupid, right? Like, you have divisions. The NBA does such a poor job of divisions, right?
Yeah.
Winning your division means nothing in the NBA. And you look at the NFL, seeding is all, in terms of the division importance, it's the same thing. But the NFL makes it important,
Mm-hmm.
and the MLB makes it important. The NBA doesn't make it important at all. They don't care about it. Um, you know, and you get these things where the Bucks have now played the Pacers 3 times. The Bucks have played Orlando 4 times after December 30th. They have another back to back with them, both in Orlando. And I get there's a lot of moving parts with the schedule, but why? Like,
Right.
we should not be playing these teams multiple times. Can't play the Bulls once, and that hurts not only the divisional play because nobody knows what's going on, right?
Right.
But it also hurts in something that I'm sure we'll touch on a little bit later too, the rivalry aspect. I mean, the viewership, I just feel like the NBA is doing a pretty poor job as it is.
For sure. I think a lot of just going back to the NFL, and I guess we can tie rivalries into this, but going back to the NFL does just such a good job of promoting rivalry games. They're always putting Bears Packers on Sunday Night Football, Ravens Steelers on Sunday Night Football. Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, when they're in the league together, they're always getting those two together in prime time. I know there's so many different Bucks games, and it's not like the NFL where it's only one day of a sport. But you got to imagine that on a ESPN Wednesday night, they sort of do a good job at this, but they throw a game like Golden State against the Timberwolves rather than a game like maybe the Bucks and Celtics or something like that. Because the NBA is driven by superstars, right? Everyone just wants to see the players rather than the teams go at it, and it's tough to see with the kind of a non-contact of a sport as basketball is, that these rivalries don't really get to develop if you don't have the promotion with it.
Well, and you just look at their in-game ads. They always have, hey, the Bucks play this and this play this, like during the game, like in little commercial breaks. But they just oversaturated, I think, right? They show you, hey, here are the next 7 big games. It's like, let's settle it down. Show me a trailer for Bucks Brooklyn,
Right,
January 7th. That's less than a month away. Nobody knows it's on the schedule, right?
right,
Boston Bucks is on ABC Christmas, but they're always throwing out all these games and it gets so tiresome. And
right,
that hurts, like you said, the divisions, the rivalries, and it's sad to see because they have the resources to do it.
right. And just to hop onto that, the NBA doesn't do a real good job. Like I said, they're player driven, right? People want to watch players. They don't do a very good job of promoting player rivalries either. I know there's not a whole lot in the NBA, but Giannis and Harden was getting up there a little bit, and that kind of seemed to just die off. LeBron and Steph was up there for a little bit. That just kind of died off. Westbrook and Durant, that just kind of died off. So I know people like watching basketball. I know people like watching players, but in order for sports to be fun, there needs to be storylines. And at least to me, other than what we have with COVID going on, there hasn't been a storyline in this NBA. There's no player matchups. There's no team matchups that you're really looking forward to.
Yeah, and even on top of that too, right? Like they don't have any ability to change it up. And what I mean by that, like NFL, they flex games or they change some games.
Right,
Or, Bills Patriots kind of look like garbage coming into the season when nobody thought the Patriots would be anything. Suddenly the Patriots are good. Suddenly the NFL is hammering this storyline. The Bucks play Cleveland tonight at 8 o'clock. Cleveland is only a half game behind us. And with everybody out, it's a great storyline. I mean, it's got, definite implications, and nobody's even talking about it at all, right? I think half the fans think the Cavs still suck. So it's
right,
just they have no flexibility, and I think that definitely hurts them.
for sure. And just to hop onto that, the rivalry aspect. If I'm the NBA, I'm trying to make a rivalry, make it however you want, of the Bucks and Bulls, because Milwaukee, Chicago, Green Bay, Chicago, Wisconsin, and Illinois is always a great rivalry in every sport. Um, I guess outside of probably the last 5 years, neither team has been particularly good. Both teams are good now, and say what you want about opposing fans. Trevor, I know we both hate Cubs fans, we both hate Bears fans, but they're passionate. I mean, they're fun to argue with, and that should be going for the NBA. Like, this is how you get more people to watch your sport: is to create storylines and to get people mad at each other, get people yelling online, and you'll have some good games. And that's perfect opportunity right now with Bucks and Bulls. If I'm the NBA, I'm promoting the shit out of that, and I don't know why they aren't.
Yeah, the Bucks' two biggest rivalries right now are the Heat and the Raptors, and neither of them are in the division, right?
Right,
And they're all fan generated because Heat fans are a different breed on Twitter. We'll put it that way. Toronto, it's died off a little bit since the Bucks won the championship, but it's still there. Meanwhile, I got the Bulls that are right there. They signed a bunch of these guys. It's not being drummed up at all, and you're seeing how quickly rivalries can be created with just fans. So it's so frustrating because, like, man, imagine what could happen if the NBA actually did something with it.
right. Yeah, I agree. I'm trying to postpone talking about COVID as long as possible, and I don't know if I can do it anymore here. But just to hop right into COVID, I mean, the Omicron variant's now out. It's seems COVID just seems to start ramping up in NBA, NFL. NHL, teams are not even letting opposing fans come in the NHL. So is this another bubble situation? I really hope not. I don't think I hope the NBA doesn't. I think they're trying to do all they can to avoid that bubble situation. But at some point, when you have, Giannis not playing, Chris Middleton not playing, Westbrook is in protocol, Harden and Durant are in protocol. I mean, Kyrie came back for 12 hours and he was in protocol. Like, if your superstars aren't playing, then nobody's going to watch the sport. So it seems to me that it's looking towards more. I mean, we're going right back to Orlando, and we're not getting fans for the rest of the year.
Yeah, and it's like, just be smart, right? Like, I get they're going to lose money this way, but until you get a hold of it, just cut the games. Like, do we really need to see
Right.
Bucks Houston for the third frickin' time? No, we don't. Cut that. Like, and it's not something where it's just like, oh, the Bucks, Bulls, and Nets are getting smoked. Everybody else is fine. Everybody, like you said,
Mm-hmm.
Isaiah Thomas off the street playing 2 days later. Like, it's everybody. So maybe the problem is that we play, the Bucks 3 games in 4 days. Like, cut it down, because if you don't, people are going to get hurt. There's going to be COVID. Standings aren't going to mean a damn thing. It just seems like they're so hard headed, and that's going to cause history to repeat itself.
For sure, and it's just such a it's a weird time, like it was 2 years ago. I mean, fans were just starting to get back, and we always talk about how much fans mean to basketball in general, right? That's how momentum gets going. Like when you come down and get a block, grab a fast break rebound, throw it on a dunk, and then come back with another three. Like there's no one who feels like you can stop you when you're playing basketball because these fans are going crazy. That's another thing you're going to lose. Just talking about playing perspective. These young guys, they're just gonna have to take that much more to develop because it's so much more fun playing with fans. It's so much easier to work on your game when you have people behind you supporting you rather than your team. I don't know. It's just tough. I know the NBA is doing the best that they can, but like you said, Trevor, at some point they just need to stop playing basketball and figure out what's going to happen, and then maybe come back 2 or 3 weeks and let everyone know. Maybe cut some games out and stay back on track.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing is, usually the NBA is very top heavy in divisions and in all that, and there still is some of that, but just cut out some of the games and keep the divisional games, right? You're looking
Hmm.
Atlantic Division, Nets, Sixers, Celtics. That's competitive, although the Nets are far ahead. I think a lot of people would tell you they've been getting a little lucky, right? Their
Hmm.
differential is the same as the Bucks, and even worse than Cleveland's, if you can believe that. The Bucks have the Bulls, Cavs, Heat, Hornets, Wizards. Like, there are a lot of good teams across the divisions, and again, now you're able to get back to that rivalry aspect. You're able to do all that with less games. Hopefully, COVID dies down, and then at the end of the year, maybe if you have time, then throw in some outside of division games. But, I don't know what they're holding out for, because this is the doomsday scenario, right? It doesn't get any worse than this.
Right. Yeah. Is there anything else you want to talk about COVID? It's just always depressing talking about it with sports.
Yeah.
And so we'll get into these coming games. Like you said, the Bucks have the Cavs tonight for their fifth game of the week, if you can believe that. Talking about the NBA scheduling, that's their second back-to-back this week for the Bucks. Um, Cleveland, the Bucks are 3.5-point favorites. The over/under is set at open at 214, now moved to 212.5. Cleveland, like you said, Trevor, they're impressing more than people thought. Right? Everyone thought Cleveland just going to roll over and die and get another lottery pick. Cleveland's 18-12. They're fourth in the East. To put that in perspective, the Bucks are 19-12 and third in the East. So they're right up there with the big boys in the East. Um, they're without Colin Sexton. He's out for the year with a torn Achilles, I believe. But Darius Garland has played well this year. Jared Allen has played well this year. I mean, they're both in preliminary talks for All-Star votes. Which is take that however you want, if it's just Cleveland or whatever. But that's no disrespect to them. They're playing very well, very good basketball. And this is I mean, I'll give my take on it first. This is a very scary game in my opinion. Like I said, this is the second back-to-back of the week. This is the fifth game of the week without Giannis, without Middleton. If Jrue Holiday doesn't get like a week off after this week, then something's definitely wrong, because Jrue Holiday is once again going to have to be the scorer. Can Grayson Allen score 25 points again? Maybe. Am I expecting it? No. Can Pat Connaughton score 20 points again? Maybe. Am I expecting it? No. You know, and they play, like I said, they played with 9 guys last game. Who knows what they play with tonight? It's all up in the air, and I do definitely think that this is a game that Cleveland can steal and jump up the Bucks in the Eastern Conference here.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not the Bucks, and obviously there are plenty other things to play. If I'm the Bucks, to be blatantly honest, I'm making a statement and I'm forfeiting this game. I don't think the Bucks are going to win this game. They basically have their whole damn team out. And what's the one thing that can hurt the Bucks? This game does not matter, right? I mean, if we're
Right.
being real honest, it does not matter. What does matter is if somebody gets hurt, and now you have a lot less players playing a lot more minutes, and they've been doing it for a while. Make a statement, because and just forfeit this game. You're not, I love the Bucks. I don't think they're going to win this game. I don't think it's going to be necessarily close, to be honest, because the Cavs have what, 2 injuries outside of Sexton.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be ready to go. They're probably going to win this game. What's the point of putting your guys out there for 48 minutes and hoping they stay healthy?
Right.
It's not a good look to be able to do it, but somebody's got to step in from the NBA, because this is just getting ridiculous at this point.
Right. And this game's in 46 minutes. I assume if they, are in your line of thinking, something would have been brewing by now. I'm sure that decision isn't made until how many minutes before, like we saw in the playoffs 2 years ago. But if they do play, I don't see Jrue Holiday playing 40 minutes this game. I see him maybe playing 20, letting the young guys go out there and run. Javante, Sandro, Rodney Hood. I guess he's not young, but letting him run. Let Pat run a little bit. Get these guys fresh legs, and just kind of get out of here without injuries, like you said. At least injuries to the big dogs on the team. But Trevor, like I said, Bucks 3.5. Over under 212.5. What are you doing with that?
Yes. Where are you getting your spread from?
I have it on the score app.
Okay, because I know ESPN, they have it. The Cavs are supposed to win by 3.5. So, uh, so I guess
You're right. It was a Cavs 3.5. My mistake.
oh, okay. I'm taking the Cavs every day. I'm taking the spread. And to be honest, I'm taking the under. I don't know. I think this is going to be an ugly game. I think the Bucks maybe score 85 points.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
To be honest, just to add on that, I'm in the same boat with you. I'd be surprised if either team scored 100 here, because the Cavs probably don't need to score 100, right? Like the formula for the NBA is if you score 100 first, you're most likely to win. Cavs don't need to score 100 in this game. We can dive into our underdog picks. Code Flurry, get you some money in there. DM Zach at Fantasy Flurry on Twitter. Tell him that Royce Newman's the only healthy offensive lineman for the Packers, and see what happens. So Darius Garland set at 21.5 points, over under. I'll take the over on that. I know I said they don't need to score 100 to win. They still need to score points. I think Darius Garland's the best player on this team without Colin Sexton. So I think he will be the guy that scores.
I'm gonna go under just because I think they're beating the Bucks. It's kind of a wire to wire thing. I think they're also just trying to get out of here healthy, and I think they just it's just kind of like a big subs and scrubs game.
Yeah, that's fair. Maybe a little bit more interesting one than that is Darius Garland's 7 assists.
Oh boy, I'd go under.
I think so too. I think either he has to score for them to win. I guess he doesn't really, like I said, he doesn't have to score, but he's going to be the scorer. He's going to be the primary look on offense. Doesn't really feel like he needs to pass, and if he's passing, I would assume other guys aren't making shots. So to hop into Jarrett Allen, who's kind of had a career revitalization here in Cleveland, 33.5 points, rebounds, and assists.
Oh, over.
Yep.
I don't know why it's so low. The Bucks don't have anybody to stop him in the post.
He may get 33 rebounds.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just, I guess, to hop on that, I guess we're both in agreement. 12 rebounds over for Jarrett Allen.
Yeah. Well, it's a little tougher just because the same thing for me with Garland. I don't know how long they're going to have him play, but He should probably still get it.
Yeah, I would imagine he gets pretty close, maybe within 4-5 rebounds by halftime. I mean, probably only need to be out there running 7 times up and down the court, and you'll get 10 rebounds in this game.
Yeah.
So Lauri Markkanen, 22.5 points, rebounds, and assists.
I'd go over too. It seems like a very low line. I don't think he's anything special, but that's such a low floor.
Right. I mean, right there, you get 10 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. You just need to find 3 more somewhere else, and that's 1 3-point shot. And Lauri Markkanen can knock down some threes. I'm with you on that. This one, I'm going to do the under. It's Jrue Holiday, 21.5 points. I just don't think he sees enough run in this game, especially if this gets out of hand quick, which I think it very well could.
God, I hope he doesn't, right? Like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be playing him any more than 25 minutes. And I know that sounds low, but I mean, Jesus, just get healthy, right? Because next week is going to be another joke. I mean, what? From the 22nd to the 30th, we have 6 games, 5 games. Like, just let it be, man.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at Zach's comment. He wants everyone to know that Royce Newman is not injured, but he has a disability, so it's like injury. So let him know your thoughts on Royce Newman. Grayson Allen, 14.5 points. Give me the over on this. This seems like a game where Grayson Allen fires threes all night.
Yeah, I don't know who else will. Sure.
Right. Pat Connaughton, 22.5 points, rebounds, and assists.
Over. I think
Over.
he easily gets 10 points. So can he get the extra stuff? Yeah.
Yep. And then last one is one that I think is the over because I think it's right there with Grayson Allen of who's shooting tonight is Jordan Nora. They have him at 14.5 points. Especially if they're taking Jrue Holiday out. I think Jordan Nora may shoot 15 threes this game.
Yeah, I'd go over too because I don't know who else is going to play for the Bucks. They don't have enough
Right.
players. So.
Right. I mean, they only ran 9 guys last game. So
Yeah.
people have to someone has to get in the game and score points, you would hope. So now to dive into our next games, we had mentioned that the Bucks or the NBA is doing a very bad job scheduling games. Bucks had 5 games last week. Tonight's be the 5th game with 2 back-to-backs. They get off until Wednesday, where they're at home against the Rockets. Given health and safety protocol rules, that's what 5 days away, 4 or 5 days away. You got to imagine that maybe some guys will be back. I don't know off the top of my head the health and safety protocols, how long you have to be out. But they play a very, I don't want to say bad, a very not great Rockets team who are 10-20 and they're 14th in the Western Conference. Rockets are shooting 44% from the field on the year, Bucks 45%. And the Rockets are they're making 44 field goals. Bucks are making 45, and 44%, 45. Sorry, my brain's going nuts here. And they're shooting 34% from 3, while the Bucks are shooting 36% from 3. I don't think there's a line. I don't see a line on this. But Trevor, what are your initial thoughts of this game? I think even with superstars out, this probably should be a win.
Yeah, the Bucks won by 9 the last time they played, and that was because Garrison Matthews decided to go off for no reason, right? Brooks
Yep.
decided to go off for no reason. Like, I'm not saying they're trash players, but they're not going to shoot that well again, and they needed that to still lose by 9. So if everybody's back, they'll be fine. But obviously, that's not a given, unfortunately. So we'll see.
Yep. Agree with you. I mean, Christian Wood's there, so he's going to, be some trouble in the paint, especially if Giannis continues to be out. If we're starting DeMarcus Cousins in that game, I think Christian Wood absolutely eats because DeMarcus Cousins doesn't move laterally well. He doesn't move well. He just kind of uses his butt and tries to get people out of the way and his elbows to get people out of the way. And I think Christian Wood's a little quicker than that and can especially get around that. So that may be a Christian Wood game, but even so, if Christian Wood is your best player, I think I think the Bucks have a pretty good chance. Let's see. So then, this just to talk about how great the NBA scheduling is. Give the Bucks 5 days off and then instantly throw them in a back-to-back, where they have to travel to Dallas from Milwaukee to Dallas in one night. Doesn't it make sense to play in Houston and then travel to Dallas? But anyways, Dallas is a solid team. They're not having the great year, year everyone thought they had. I mean, obviously Luka Doncic is still there. I think, is he hurt?
I have not been paying attention. This COVID stuff has worn me out from the NBA.
Yeah, he may be hurt. I think he is. I mean, in my app here it says key players and as number one it's Kristaps, so I'm imagining they don't expect Luka Doncic to play. I don't know. I mean, what is there even to say about these games if we can't talk about Giannis, Middleton, how they're going to play? Doncic is always like there's no point in even talking about these games, but we'll do it anyways because that's how dedicated we are to the Bucks, right? Um, so I don't know. This seems like another game, like Houston. Like the Mavericks aren't great without Luka Doncic. They have Kristaps, who, in my mind, is one of the bigger busts of recent times. Like he has all the potential in the world, and he's never really developed into anything more than when he came into the league. I mean, he's a fine player. He's averaging around 20 a game, but he's not getting any better than what he was. He plays different than Christian Wood. He's obviously going to sit out by the 3-point line and wait for guys to kick out and hit, so he can hit a three over his defender, which could spell trouble, especially if Bobby Portis is the one on him, or DeMarcus Cousins. Like I said, I would imagine that Giannis and Middleton are back by now. I shouldn't say Middleton, but Giannis and Portis and guys and DiVincenzo are back by now. But Mavericks they play very slow basketball. They want to slow the ball down, work some offense. On the flip side, the Bucks want to get out in fast breaks. So that could definitely that's definitely the I think the key to the Bucks win here is just getting the ball moving and not letting the Mavericks set up half court offense. Just get into them, play some defense, maybe put a little press on them, and just get them uncomfortable.
Yeah, and Dallas's head coach is Jason Kidd, so they're going to absolutely mop the floor with them. Jason Kidd is a terrible coach. If Doncic isn't playing, they're going to beat him probably by 20 if people are back. If Doncic is playing, honestly, they still might beat him by 20. Who knows?
Right. And then to hop into the last game that we're going to preview, I don't know that we'll have a show next week because obviously next
Christmas.
Saturday is Christmas. I'll be at the Packer game. Trevor, I'm sure you're going to take precedent in watching the Packer game. Bucks play at 1:30 on Christmas against the Celtics. At this point, I've been seeing tweets saying that the Lakers Nets, the key players it's going to be Rajon Rondo versus Bruce Brown. Might ring true with the Bucks too. Like this could be, Grayson Allen versus Aaron Nesmith for all we know. But if in a hypothetical world, everyone's playing. Jason Tatum, you know what you're going to get out of him. He's going to put up a lot of shots. Whether they go in or not that's the way the Celtics, if they're going to win, if Tatum's scoring a lot of points, they're going to win. If his shots aren't falling, they're going to lose, right? So it's really easy to game plan around the Celtics in my mind. I agree with what you said earlier in the show that they're not that great of a team, and they're really dependent on Jason Tatum. I'm wondering if they're regretting giving Jaylen Brown that massive contract 2 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, this is just a stupid game too, right? The Packers play at 3:15, I think. People are going to forget the Bucks are even playing. Are playing at 1:30 in Milwaukee. I love Milwaukee. I love our fans, but if the Packers are playing, nobody's going to care about this game, right? The fans aren't going to be super lively. I don't know why they picked this time, right? Like it's better than a 4:00, but why not a 7 or the 11 a.m. one? Like this just seems kind of like bad scheduling by the NBA. You should know your market better than this. And I think that's going to create a weird atmosphere of this game, just where it's not the usual home crowd. It's more like a neutral court. And the Bucks historically, I don't think are very good on Christmas. So I'd take that.
Yeah, and just to hop onto the fans, I imagine this is a lot of game. Like this is a game where a lot of people, kid wants to go to a Bucks game, so the parents buy him tickets, and they're going to buy him tickets to the Christmas game, right? So you're not going to have your traditional diehard fans there. You're going to have families there. You're going to have people who maybe have never been to a Bucks game before there. So I agree with you. It's going to be a weird atmosphere. Don't really know what you're going to get. Very weird scheduling the Bucks and the Packers. I know it's not the NBA's fault, or the NFL's fault that Christmas fell on a Saturday, but it's weird kind of scheduling both games at the same time, especially with how good both teams are, and really making Wisconsin fans pick one or the other game to watch.
And I'll tell you which one they're going to pick.
Right. So that just adds to how bad NBA scheduling has been these last couple of years. But as long as we keep showing LeBron James and Russell Westbrook, then people will continue to watch the NBA.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's all I got, Trevor. Is there anything else you want to talk about from last week, this week, news,
Adam
anything?
Silver, just do something, man. Just do something.
Mm-hmm.
Just something.
Yeah, yeah. That's all we got. That's all we got this week on Buckshots with Trevor and Luke. Make sure to follow both of us on Twitter for Bucks news. We'll give opinions as stuff is happening. We're both big Packer fans. We'll give Packer opinions. If the MLB ever plays again, you can follow us for Brewer stuff. We're both writing a lot of college basketball stuff for Flurry. We're doing, like I say every week, we're doing Lombardi Sweep. We're still doing fantasy football stuff. If you're in the playoffs, definitely tune in because we have been right about a lot of stuff this year. Maybe not our guarantees, but a lot of other stuff we've been doing well. And other than that, I know Henry's got the Sit Start show going. I know him and Zach are still putting out stuff about NASCAR. Justin's doing a lot of stuff with college sports. Like I said, me and you are doing college basketball. We're doing fantasy football stuff. Hunter and Coach are still putting out fantasy football stuff. Zach's putting out a bunch of stuff. So definitely follow everyone. Follow at Flurry Sports on Twitter. Subscribe to YouTube. Follow us on Facebook. And follow us on Twitch. Do whatever you can do. Ingest all the Flurry Sports media that you can because we definitely are working hard and doing a very good job. Getting a lot of stuff right and getting a lot of stuff out. So with that, Trevor, anything else you want to say?
Nope.
Let's get out of here and go Bucks.
Yep.